Imagine for a moment that you are, like, a diehard fan of sports league.
Okay.
And for 60 years, literally 6 entire decades, only 2 rival teams have ever won the championship.
Just those two.
Just those 2. They just trade the trophy back and forth,
Yep.
generation after generation. It's Team A or Team B.
Right. Total lock on the system.
Exactly. The stadiums, the commentators, the entire economy of the sport is built strictly around this massive, immovable duopoly.
I can picture it, yeah.
Now imagine a brand new expansion team walks onto the field,
Okay.
and they are captained by a literal movie star.
Oh, wow.
Right. And in their very first season, they don't just compete. They completely shatter the duopoly and take home the championship.
I mean, you'd be looking at the television thinking, how on earth did that just happen?
Exactly. You'd be questioning the very fundamentals of the game.
Oh, absolutely. It forces you to reevaluate every assumption you had about the rules, the audience, the mechanics of victory.
Which brings us to the actual real-world equivalent of that exact scenario.
It really is the perfect analogy.
Yeah, today we are unpacking a political earthquake. We are diving into the 2026 Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly election.
A truly historic event.
It really is. And we've got a massive stack of sources here for you. News reports, unedited legislative transcripts, election data, deep dive political analysis.
The works.
Yeah. And our mission for today's deep dive is to pull all of this apart. We need to figure out how the decades-old dominance of the DMK and AIA-DMK parties was just vaporized.
Just completely dismantled by this new party, the TVK.
Right, the Tamilaga Vetri Kazhagam. Led by their founder, the iconic actor-turned-politician, Chief Minister C. Joseph Vijay.
And we're going to explore some really intense stuff today.
Oh, for sure. We're getting into the incredibly dramatic June 2026 legislative debates, the friction of his fragile new coalition government, the deep ideological clashes, and how live broadcasting is basically rewriting the rules of political discourse right before our eyes.
Because, we aren't just looking at the novelty of a movie star winning an election.
Yeah. Right, that's happened before.
Exactly. The history of Indian politics has seen actors transition to leadership before. What we need to dissect is the structural reality of this specific victory.
And that structure is complicated.
Very. We are dealing with a hung assembly, meaning no single party won enough seats to rule on their own.
Which forces a massive realignment of governance.
Precisely. We are watching a real-time masterclass in how a new leader uses highly calculated populist welfare programs to stabilize an incredibly precarious coalition.
Right. So let's start with the sheer magnitude of what happened in April 2026, because honestly, the numbers in these sources are staggering.
They really are.
Just to set the stage for you listening, Tamil Nadu is a massive state in southern India. We are talking about a population of roughly 77 million people.
Which is larger than a lot of European countries.
Yeah, exactly. And in this election, the voter turnout was 85.1%.
Which is the highest in the entire electoral history of the state.
Wow. Literally the highest ever.
Ever. And in political science, a sudden historic spike in turnout like that is usually a glaring red flashing light.
What does it signal?
It tells you that previously apathetic voters, people who normally stay home because they feel the system is stagnant, have been aggressively activated.
And the results of that activation completely rewrote the map.
They really did.
So the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly has 234 seats. And to get an absolute majority, to pass laws and govern without anyone else's permission, you need to win 118 seats.
Right. The magic number is 118.
Keep that number in mind. So in its very first electoral contest ever, Vijay's TVK emerged as the single largest party. They took 108 seats.
Out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the incumbent DMK party, which had just recently swept the national parliament elections in Lok Sabha, they were reduced to 59 seats.
A massive drop.
And the main traditional opposition, the AIA-DMK, fell to 47 seats.
I mean, the scale of that defeat for the old guard just cannot be overstated. It was a total systemic shock.
Totally. But there's one specific race that the sources highlight as the ultimate symbol of this decapitation of the old guard.
Oh, you mean Kalathur?
Yes, Kalathur.
To understand the gravity here, you have to know that the Kalathur constituency was the absolute political fortress of the outgoing chief minister, M.K. Stalin.
The leader of the DMK.
Right. He had won that specific seat consecutively 3 times. It was viewed as totally untouchable.
Like a stronghold.
A complete stronghold. Yet, in this election, the sitting chief minister lost his home turf to the TVK's candidate. vs. Babu.
That is wild. I mean, that's like a reigning heavyweight champion getting knocked out in his own living room by a rookie.
That's exactly what it felt like. It's a stunning symbolic defeat.
So the sitting CM is just out.
Yeah. Stalin became only the second incumbent chief minister of the state to lose their assembly membership, since the AIADMK's J. Jayalalitha lost back in 1996.
Wow.
It signaled to the entire state that the old rules of political invincibility, they just no longer applied.
Meanwhile, Vijay himself contested from two different constituencies, right? Parambar and Tiruchirappalli East.
Correct. And he won both of them easily.
Though he later vacated the Trichy East seat.
Yeah, which is standard procedure. Electoral rules prevent one person from holding multiple seats simultaneously.
Okay, so I have a theory I want to run by you.
Let's hear it.
We have this actor, Vijay. The sources note he was reportedly paid $30 million for his final film, Jananayagan, which translates to People's Hero.
Right.
He announces his retirement from cinema, launches a party, and immediately topples the system. My assumption here is that he just coasted on sheer celebrity momentum. Like, people saw his face on a billboard, associated him with the hero he plays on screen, and just blindly voted for him. Is that how he pulled this off?
You know, it is a very common assumption, but the data and the historical context actually completely refute that.
Really? Celebrity didn't do it.
I mean, relying on celebrity alone might win you a single seat, maybe two, but it absolutely does not allow you to run a coordinated ground game across 234 distinct, highly diverse constituencies.
That makes sense. You need actual infrastructure.
Exactly. And the sources provide a very clear mechanism for his success. It was a methodical, multi-decade transition from the real to the real.
Wait, multi-decade? Didn't he only formally launch the party in February 2024?
Officially, yes. But he had been constructing the underlying machinery for years.
Wow.
Well, to understand this, you have to look at the unique culture of movie fan clubs in Tamil Nadu.
Okay.
These aren't just like groups of people who meet up to talk about movies. They are highly organized, hierarchical networks.
With actual leadership.
Yeah, with district leaders, local organizers, grassroots membership. And back in 2009, Vijay completely restructured his network of fan clubs.
How many clubs are we talking about?
Reportedly around 85,000 of them across the state.
85,000?
Yeah, he unified them into a social welfare organization called the Vijay Makal Iyakam, or VMI.
So he essentially built a shadow political organization disguised as a fan club.
That is exactly the right way to frame it. He had troops on the ground long before he declared a war.
That's incredibly smart. So what did the VMI actually do?
Through VMI, he began engaging in expensive, highly visible philanthropic work. Like when massive floods hit the state, VMI was there distributing relief.
So actual boots-on-the-ground aid?
Yes, they provided educational support to underprivileged students. But beyond just charity, he began carefully aligning his public persona with major emotionally charged social issues.
Give me an example of how he did that.
Well, there are a few critical flashpoints mentioned in our sources.
Okay.
First, in 2008, he publicly supported the Elam Tamils.
For context for the listener, this relates to the brutal civil war in neighboring Sri Lanka, right?
Yes, where the ethnic Tamil minority faced severe violence. Supporting the Elam Tamils is a deeply sensitive, unifying issue of cultural solidarity in Tamil Nadu politics.
Right.
Then in 2011, he supported protests by fishermen in Nagapattinam who were facing attacks at sea.
So he's actively stepping outside the movie theater and placing himself squarely in the middle of real-world geopolitical and economic crises.
Yeah. But the defining moment was really the 2017 Jallikattu protests.
Oh, I've seen footage of that. It's the bull-taming tradition, right?
Exactly. It's an ancient, highly revered bull-taming tradition in Tamil Nadu, intrinsically tied to the state's agricultural roots and cultural pride.
Right.
So when the national authorities and courts attempted to ban the practice over animal welfare concerns, it triggered a massive, spontaneous uprising. Millions of young people occupied Marina Beach in Chennai.
It was like an ocean of people.
It was. And Vijay didn't just, tweet about it. He physically showed up at the protests.
Wow.
He framed it as an issue of Tamil identity and state autonomy against overreach by the central government.
Okay, so by the time he formally launches his political party, the TVK, in 2024, he isn't introducing himself to the public at all.
Not at all.
He's activating a pre-existing, battle-tested organization.
An organization that had already grown to over 15 million registered members by September 2025.
15 million. That makes so much more sense. You don't just win 108 seats on charisma, you win them on logistics.
Absolutely.
And he coupled that massive logistical ground force with a very specific ideological message. The TVK positioned itself around the concept of secular egalitarianism.
Yes, they adopted the slogan Purapukum ella uyurkum.
And what does that mean exactly?
That is a highly significant choice of phrasing. It is a verse from the ancient, universally respected Tamil text, the Thirukural, and it translates to all are equal by birth.
Okay, and it's important for us to note here for the listener that we are looking objectively at the TVK's stated platform, right? We're just analyzing how they presented themselves to the voters based on the sources.
Exactly. We were just looking at the mechanics of the campaign.
Right, so they actively frame themselves as a secular, social justice-oriented alternative to the traditional Dravidian parties, promising a totally clean break from the established system.
And importantly, they completely bypassed traditional media.
Like newspapers and TV.
Yeah, legacy television networks, newspapers, they ran a massive digital-first campaign on YouTube, Instagram, and WhatsApp.
Because they understood that the electorate was skewing younger.
Exactly, and those younger voters were consuming their political information through completely different funnels than their parents did.
Okay, so he builds the machine, runs the campaign, and wins 108 seats. It is a historic victory.
But
Here is the massive catch we mentioned earlier. 108 is an incredible number, but it is not 118.
right, it is not a majority.
And that 10-seat deficit is the defining structural feature of the current government.
Why?
It created the state's first true hung assembly.
Which is incredibly unstable.
So let's walk through how you actually fix that problem. Because if I'm VJ and I'm 10 seats short, my instinct would be to just find 10 politicians from smaller parties and offer them powerful cabinet positions.
Like a trade.
Yeah. Make them the Minister of Transport or the Minister of Health in exchange for their votes. Is that how we form the government?
You are describing a very traditional method of coalition building, and it is partly what happened.
Okay.
After M.K. Stalin formally resigned on May 5th, Vijay met with the governor of Tamil Nadu, Rajendra Vishwanath Arlikar, to stake his claim to form the new government.
So how did he get past that magic 118 mark?
Well, TVK managed to pull in several smaller parties that had actually been allied with the DMK in previous elections.
Let's look at the coalition math because the sources paint a picture of a very delicate house of cards.
It's very fragile.
So TVK has 108 seats. They officially aligned with the Indian National Congress, a massive national party, which won 5 seats in the state.
Okay, so that's 113.
Then they brought in the Vidathali Chiruthaigal Kachi, the VCK, with 2 seats, and the Indian Union Muslim League, the IUML, also with 2 seats.
So we have 108 plus 5 plus 2 plus 2.
That gets them to 117.
They're still one single seat short of a majority.
This is so stressful. How did they get that last seat?
This is where the mechanics get really interesting. To get over the finish line, they relied on a parliamentary mechanism known as outside support.
What does that mean in practice?
Well, 2 major left-wing parties, the Communist Party of India, the CPI, and the Communist Party of India Marxists, the CPIM, each hold 2 seats.
Okay.
They offered the TVK unconditional outside support.
Outside support, so they aren't in the government.
Right. It means they categorically refuse to take any cabinet positions or officially join the government apparatus.
Oh, I see.
However, they promised to vote with the TVK on any critical confidence motions on the assembly floor.
So they're essentially saying, like, we aren't going to be in the car with you, but we will make sure no one slashes your tires.
That's a great way to put it, precisely. And that outside support brought VJ's total backing to 120 legislators.
Which gives him the constitutional mandate to form the government.
Exactly.
But this raises a huge question. The left parties were originally allied with the outgoing DMK.
Yes, they were.
Why on earth would they prop up this brand new, untested TVK government instead of just letting it fail? What did they get out of it if they aren't getting cabinet seats?
To understand that, we really have to zoom out and look at the existential fears driving Indian national politics.
Okay, what are they afraid of?
In the Indian constitutional system, if a state government collapses and no party can prove a majority, the central government in New Delhi can invoke something called President's Rule.
And why is that a big deal?
Because it is essentially the ultimate override button. It dissolves the state's autonomy. Under President's Rule, the state is administered directly by the national government.
Oh, wow.
And for the left parties, this was a nightmare scenario. They argued that allowing the TVK government to collapse would result in president's rule, which would hand control of Tamil Nadu directly to the nationally ruling BJP, a party they vehemently oppose.
So it's pure strategy.
Yes, they viewed outside support not as an endorsement of VJ, but as a strategic necessity to block the national government from gaining a backdoor entry into the state's administrative apparatus.
It is a marriage of extreme, desperate convenience.
Very much so.
And the fallout of this coalition building was immediate, wasn't it? Like, on May 10, 2026, when Vijay was sworn in at the Nehru Indoor Stadium, the political landscape had fundamentally shifted.
Absolutely. Because of this math, the Congress Party received cabinet minister positions in Tamil Nadu for the first time in 59 years.
That's huge. And the National Congress leader, Rahul Gandhi, even attended the swearing in.
Which signals that this regional shift had massive national implications.
But the reality of governing with that coalition has to be deeply fraught.
Oh, the TVK is forced to walk a perpetual, agonizing tightrope.
It makes sense. You have to keep the communist bloc happy, you have to keep the Congress Party happy, manage the VCK and the IUML, all while keeping your own base energized.
Right.
How do you stop these totally different ideological factions from just tearing each other apart and collapsing the government?
You deploy a highly calculated strategy of neo-populist welfare.
Okay, let me see if I understand the mechanism here. It's like being out at a bar with your roommates and everyone is arguing about how to split the rent.
Sure.
To stop the argument, you take your roommate's credit card, go to the bartender, and buy drinks for the entire bar. If your roommate tries to stop you or complains, the whole bar turns against them.
That is a remarkably apt analogy for populist coalition management.
So Vijay is passing incredibly popular policies, and if his coalition partner's trying to stop him, they look like the bad guys to the voters.
Exactly. Let's look at the actual policies the TVK rolled out in their first 70 days in office.
Okay, because the sources say they are sweeping and specifically targeted.
Yes. In the energy sector, they authorized 200 units of free power per household.
Huge. And in agriculture.
They implemented massive cooperative loan waivers.
Just to translate the numbers from the sources for the listener, they waived loans for over 14 lakh farmers. A lakh is 100,000, so we're talking about 1.4 million farmers having their debts wiped out.
It's massive. And they also released special financial packages for Kuvai paddy cultivation.
What's the Kuvai paddy?
The Kudavai refers to the short-term rice crop grown in the Kaveri Delta region of Tamil Nadu. It is highly dependent on water releases from neighboring states and seasonal rains.
Okay.
So by heavily subsidizing this specific crop, VJs is directly securing the loyalty of the massive agrarian voting bloc in the central districts of the state.
And they also restored those highly popular subsidized Amma canteens.
Yes.
For listeners unfamiliar, these are state-run food stalls that offer meals at incredibly low prices, like an idli for 1 rupee. It is an absolute lifeline for daily wage workers and low-income families.
And on the public safety front, they formed a special protection force for women called Singapin.
They also created a specialized anti-narcotics division, right?
Yes, and executed a major moral policy, closing down 717 TTASMAC state-run liquor shops located near schools and temples.
The TASMAC closure is a fascinating display of political maneuvering, because TASMAC is the state government's monopoly on wholesale and retail liquor sales.
Right. It is one of the absolute largest sources of revenue for the state government.
It funds the very welfare programs we just talked about.
Exactly.
So by closing them, he is literally cutting off his own funding.
He is sacrificing state revenue to buy massive moral and political capital, particularly with women voters who often bear the brunt of alcohol-related domestic issues.
Wow.
On the surface, every single one of these policies, free power, debt waivers, cheap food, closing liquor shops, is a direct, tangible welfare benefit. But structurally, they serve as an impenetrable populist shield for his minority government.
Because if you are a coalition partner, like the VCK or the Congress, and you fundamentally disagree with VJ on some complex administrative issue, you're basically trapped.
Exactly. If you pull your 5 seats out of the coalition and the government collapses, the free power stops.
The farmer loan waivers freeze, the cheap food canteens shut down.
And who do the voters blame?
They won't blame Vijay.
No, they will blame the party that pulled the plug.
That is ruthless, but brilliant. By aggressively pushing these highly visible, immediately impactful policies, TVK makes it politically toxic for its allies to withdraw their support.
They effectively lock in their coalition's loyalty through an overwhelming public mandate.
Okay, I totally see the strategy. You build a fortress of public approval so your political partners can't afford to attack you.
Precisely.
But it's one thing to announce policies by signing a piece of paper in an office. It is an entirely different battle to defend those policies live on television while your political rivals are actively trying to dismantle you.
And that brings us to the historic June 2026 legislative session.
This sounds like it was wild.
This session represents a watershed moment for political transparency and theatricality in Tamil Nadu. The state government decided that, for the first time in its history, the entire proceedings of the Legislative Assembly would be telecast live.
And we're talking raw, completely unedited footage here.
Completely live.
Think about the difference between watching a heavily edited, polished documentary versus an unscripted, chaotic reality TV live stream.
It's a totally different medium.
When the red recording light goes on and every single voter with a smartphone can watch the feed on YouTube, the incentive structure changes entirely.
Right.
Does the assembly remain a place for nuanced, complex policy debate? Or does it instantly become a theater strictly designed for generating viral sound bites?
The evidence strongly points toward the latter. On June 22, the fireworks started immediately.
Who fired the first shot?
Udhanidi Stalin. He is the former deputy chief minister, the son of the defeated MK Stalin, and the newly minted leader of the opposition for the DMK.
Okay, and he went straight on the offensive.
He did, and he targeted the exact welfare vulnerabilities we just discussed.
So, according to the sources, Udhanidi zeroed in on the energy policies. He highlighted recurring power cuts across the capital city of Chennai.
Right.
And in an incredibly pointed, very calculated political maneuver, he specifically called out the power failures happening in Parambar.
Which is Chief Minister Vijay's own constituency.
Oh, man. It's a massive direct hit.
It really is.
Udhanidi is essentially looking at the camera and saying, you promised 200 units of free power to the state, but you can't even keep the lights on in your own backyard.
And he didn't stop there. He went after the highly publicized Singapore Women's Safety Force.
What did he say about that?
He brought up data arguing that despite the creation of this new, flashy unit, crimes against women were still rising, fundamentally questioning if the government's policies were anything more than cinematic PR stunts.
And this is where we see the profound impact of the live broadcast. Udhanidi is not trying to convince the Speaker of the House or his fellow legislators.
Not at all. He knows the math. He knows he doesn't have the votes to change the policy.
He is performing directly for the social media feeds of the electorate.
Exactly. He is providing pre-packaged 30-second clips designed to be forwarded on WhatsApp.
Which puts an unimaginable amount of pressure on the Speaker of the House.
Huge pressure.
For those listening who don't follow parliamentary mechanics, the Speaker is the person who sits at the front of the room, manages the microphone, enforces the rules, and basically keeps order.
Right.
And the new Speaker is JCD Prabhakar of the TVK. And the sources show his control completely breaking down when the DMK stages a massive walkout.
Yeah, the catalyst for the walkout was a remark by Chief Minister Vijay.
What did he say?
He openly accused the previous DMK government of siphoning public money through the Tasmac liquor monopoly. He alleged they treated state funds as their own party funds.
Oh, wow. And the DMK members absolutely erupted.
Totally. The unedited transcripts show the Speaker's interventions completely failing to restore any semblance of order.
The DMK members were literally shouting slogans over him and physically walked out of the chamber while the cameras rolled.
The Speaker's inability to maintain decorum illustrates how traditional assembly protocols are really struggling to contain the pressures of live broadcasting.
Because when a breach of protocol or a dramatic walkout is instantly broadcast to millions of viewers, the political reward for dramatic confrontation far outweighs the reward for orderly, respectful debate.
Exactly. The floor of the assembly is no longer a boardroom, it's a stage.
But the debates weren't just theatrical arguments over power cuts and liquor revenues.
No, they got much deeper.
The sources show that the assembly actually became the battleground for a deep national-level ideological warfare.
Yes, this is perhaps the most sociologically significant aspect of that June session.
It brought a massive, simmering ideological conflict right into the physical center of the state government.
Let's lay out exactly what happened here.
Yeah, and we should rely strictly on the sources provided for this. We need to be clear to you listening that this is a highly sensitive topic for many people, and our role here is purely to analyze the political mechanics of the debate. We are not validating either side.
Right, strictly impartial analysis.
So, during his maiden speech as leader of the opposition, Udhayati Stalin reiterated a highly controversial stance that he first made public back in 2023.
He explicitly stated that Sanatana Dharma must be eradicated or abolished.
For context, Sanatana Dharma is a term often used to describe absolute, eternal Hindu duties or practices, though interpretations obviously vary wildly.
Right. And Udhaniti's stated argument was that the system inherently perpetuates caste divisions, social inequality, and systemic oppression.
And he made this statement directly on the assembly floor right in front of the new chief minister.
He did.
The pushback from the political right, particularly the BJP, was immediate and fierce. Our sources cite BJP spokesperson C.R. Kesavan, who strongly condemned the remarks.
He labeled them as divisive hate politics.
And he publicly compared Udhayanithi to the National Congress leader Rahul Gandhi, basically accusing the DMK of intentionally insulting core Hindi beliefs for political gain.
And Udayinidi defended his stance by claiming his ideology aligns purely with historical social reformers like B.R. Ambedkar and Periyar E.V. Ramaswamy.
Figures who fought aggressively against the caste system.
Right. He stated his focus was strictly on eradicating caste-based inequality, arguing it was not an attack on anyone's personal religious faith or their right to visit temples.
Okay, so we have two intensely clashing viewpoints presented in the sources here. One side argues for the dismantling of a structure they view as the root of systemic caste oppression.
And the other side condemns the remarks as a direct, hateful attack on sacred religious traditions.
Right. But why bring this up right now? What is the political strategy behind dropping this massive ideological bomb in the middle of a debate about state governance?
Well, the strategy is actually brilliant in its disruptive capability. Consider the core ideology of Vijay's TVK party.
Secular egalitarianism. All are equal by birth.
Exactly. The TVK built its entire platform on a promise of social justice and secularism. By forcing the debate on Sanatana Dharma onto the assembly floor, Udhayanidhi places the TVK in an incredibly complex lose-lose position.
Ah, I see. It's a wedge issue.
Precisely. The TVK must now navigate a path where they balance their own foundational social justice platform with the harsh political necessity of not alienating a highly diverse, statewide voter base that holds varied and deeply felt religious beliefs.
So Udhayanidhi is basically forcing the new government to define exactly what their version of secular egalitarianism looks like when tested by a polarizing national issue.
Yes, he is daring them to either agree with him and risk alienating religious voters or disagree with him and risk looking like they are abandoning their social justice roots.
Wow. And that intense ideological clash very quickly devolved into something much more personal, didn't it?
It absolutely did.
It highlighted how modern political discourse has totally blurred the lines between the formal, rule-bound assembly floor and the absolute wild west of social media.
This transition brings us to Chief Minister Vijay's address on June 23rd. This was his maiden legislative reply to the governor's address.
The entire state was watching.
And he did not hold back in his assessment of his predecessors.
Not at all. He launched a blistering, multi-front attack on the DMK. He accused them of leaving the Director General of Police, the DGP post, essentially the top law enforcement officer in the state, vacant for 10 months.
Which is basically saying they completely abandoned their duty to maintain law and order.
Right. And he accused them of allowing a drug culture to fester in the state. And as we mentioned earlier, he accused them of treating the state liquor monopoly as their personal piggy bank.
He delivered a line during that speech that became an instant viral headline.
Oh, what was it?
He stated that the TVK knows how to serve the people, but doesn't know how to loot.
Ouch.
Yeah, he leaned heavily into the contrast between his new, supposedly clean governance and the alleged entrenched corruption of the established parties.
But the moment everyone was talking about, like, the clip that flooded everyone's phones was how he ended the speech. He used what he refers to as a Cuddy story.
Right, a Cuddy story. That translates roughly to a short parable or anecdote.
It is a signature rhetorical device that Vijay used for years to close out his massive, highly publicized movie audio launch events, isn't it?
Exactly. He takes a cinematic tool and brings it straight into the legislature.
So he ends his first major address as chief minister with a story about an old man searching frantically for something in the blazing hot sun.
Right.
A young boy walks up to him and asks, "What are you looking for?" And the old man replies, "I am looking for your father."
It is a direct, highly theatrical, and deeply personal dig at Udhayanidhi Stalin regarding his father, M.K. Stalin's electoral loss in Kalathur.
Wow, just brutal.
It was designed entirely to mock the former chief minister's absence from the assembly, using a format that VJ's fans were already conditioned to cheer for.
And the retaliation was instantaneous.
But it didn't happen on the assembly floor.
No, it happened on social media. Udhayanidi took to X, formerly Twitter, and fired back a long, detailed critique.
He accused VJ of treating the live assembly camera exactly like a cinema camera.
He claimed the speaker, JCD Prabhakar, showed blatant partisan bias by allowing Vijay a single take without any interruptions from the opposition.
Right, arguing it wasn't a debate, just a monologue.
Udhayanidi literally wrote that the speech was nothing but punch dialogues, which is a term for the dramatic, stylized one-liners heroes deliver in Tamil cinema.
And he noted that it offered zero real answers to the pressing issues of power cuts or agricultural distress.
But then he escalated the personal nature of the feud even further.
He did.
In his post, Udhayanidi brought up a completely separate, ongoing controversy. He advised Vijay to monitor his own party functionaries, who were allegedly threatening media houses that reported critically on the new government.
And in a very pointed jab, he mentioned Vijay's wife appearing in a court in Chengalpattu regarding a separate legal matter.
That is deeply personal. He ended the post with a direct, stinging command. Forget actor BCM.
Which is such a loaded statement.
It really begs a huge question. I mean, we all love a good political rivalry. It drives engagement. It makes for great headlines.
Yeah.
But when the chief minister of a state with 77 million people and the leader of the opposition are taking personal potshots, swapping parables, and referencing each other's family members' court appearances, what does that do to the actual standard of public governance?
Well, my sources highlight a fascinating sociological irony that helps explain this dynamic.
Oh, what's that?
Chief Minister Vijay, opposition leader Udhayanidhi Stalin, and the Speaker of the House, JCD Prabhakar, all share the exact same academic lineage.
Wait, really? The top three guys currently waging war in the legislature all went to the same school?
Yes. They all attended Loyola College in Chennai.
That is insane.
In fact, Udhayanidhi joked about it early in the session, noting that while they all went to the same college, the DMK was the senior batch in governance and was ready to teach the political newcomers how things actually work.
It's like an alumni association meeting gone completely off the rails.
But there is a serious political consequence to that shared background. It breeds a deep, informal familiarity. And as the saying goes, familiarity often breeds contempt. When you combine that pre-existing personal familiarity with the ultimate accelerant of social media, the traditional guardrails of formal political discourse just fall away.
Because social media allows the opposition to completely bypass legacy media.
Exactly. They don't have to wait for the morning paper to print their rebuttal. They can challenge the government's legislative conduct instantly and directly.
It turns state politics from a complex debate over structural policy into a highly personalized 247 digital feud.
Which shifts the entire focus of the electorate from how the state is governed to the individual personalities of the men governing it.
Which brings us back to the phrase Udhayanidhi used. Forget actor, BCM. This touches on the absolute core tension of this entirely new government. How much of Vijay's cinematic past is actively shaping his political present?
Well, he is clearly utilizing the tools of cinema, right? Punch dialogues, emotional appeals, dramatic storytelling directly in his legislative speeches.
It's his whole communication style.
It is deeply, perhaps inevitably, influenced by decades of carrying blockbuster films. He is direct, emotional, and unapologetic.
He knows precisely how to hold an audience's attention.
Exactly. He knows how to deliver a line for maximum viral impact and how to craft a public narrative where he is the lone crusader against a deeply corrupt system.
It is the exact image he perfected in massive hit films like Kathy and Sarkar.
But the friction this causes in the real world is immense.
Because managing the grinding, slow-moving bureaucracy of a massive state is fundamentally different from following a movie script.
Very different. In a movie, the hero gives an impassioned speech, the villain cowers, and the problem is solved before the credits roll.
But in government, you give a speech and then you have to deal with the public works department, the courts, and the budget constraints.
Right. The transition from running a fan-based mobilization campaign to executing daily administration is always fraught.
And the sources detail several significant early governance hiccups for the TVK administration that highlight this exact friction between the image and the reality.
Let's look at those, because they really show the cracks in the clean governance narrative.
Right. First, the TVK government had to abruptly cancel a public works tender in Kanchipuram for a water tank project.
The issue wasn't the project itself, it was the process. It was discovered that bidders were given a highly suspicious, incredibly brief 6-hour window to apply for the contract.
6 hours, that's nothing.
Right. This immediately drew accusations from the DMK that this new, supposedly transparent government was already rigging the system to favor specific, connected contractors.
Yikes. Then there was a massive, somewhat bizarre public uproar when the government appointed an astrologer as an officer on special duty to the chief minister.
Oh, the astrologer appointment.
Sure.
The backlash was instantaneous, not just from the opposition, but from their own rationalist political allies.
Because it was seen as completely antithetical to their secular, modern platform.
Exactly. The pressure was so severe that they had to revoke the appointment the very next day.
Which is a highly embarrassing administrative backtrack for a new government trying to project strength.
Definitely. Furthermore, they had to publicly expel a party functionary in the Vellore district after local residents protested over allegations that he was running an extortion ring.
Wait, extortion?
Yeah, demanding 100,000 rupees a month from local brick kiln operators.
It really is the friction between the real and the real. Vijay explicitly promised the voters that his administration would be real, not just real.
But when you have missteps like the astrologer appointment or tender controversies, you have to wonder how quickly that cinematic aura of invincibility wears off.
Right. But there is one event detailed in the sources that is far more serious than a canceled tender, and it casts a long, tragic shadow over the party's origin story.
We must address the Karur rally stampede that occurred in September 2025.
This was during the massive mobilization phase before the election.
Yes.
The numbers are devastating. During a massive TVK political rally, crowd control completely failed, a stampede broke out, and 39 people, with another source claiming 41 people, lost their lives.
It was horrific, and the sheer scale of the tragedy forced a massive legal and political reckoning. The incident led to a probe by the CBI.
For context, the CBI is the Central Bureau of Investigation, India's premier national investigative agency, roughly analogous to the FBI in the United States.
Right. Their involvement indicates the severe national gravity of the event.
And it didn't end there. There was a petition filed in the Madras High Court regarding the FIR.
The first information report, which is the initial formal police complaint that sets a criminal investigation in motion.
Right. And the controversy centered on whether the leadership, specifically Vijay, was being shielded from charges of criminal negligence regarding public safety at his events.
It is a stark, tragic reminder of the immense difficulty and profound responsibility of translating popular enthusiasm into functional, safe logistics.
Because every misstep, whether it is an administrative error like a tender or a catastrophic failure in public safety, is instantly weaponized by a highly experienced opposition like the DMK.
Exactly, to puncture the TVK's narrative. The learning curve of executive governance is incredibly steep, and the TVK is having to climb it while the entire state scrutinizes their every move live on television.
Which brings us back to where we started this journey. We have thoroughly unpacked the shattering of a 60-year institutional duopoly in Tamil Nadu.
We really have.
We've looked at the incredibly precarious math and the delicate balancing act required to manage a minority coalition with left-wing and Congress partners.
The neo-populist welfare shield.
Yes. We've examined the live-streamed raw theatricality of the Tamil Nadu Legislative Assembly, and we've explored the deeply personal, ideologically charged warfare playing out over Sanatana Dharma, family legacies, and governance failures.
Both on the legislative floor and across social media.
Yeah, we've seen how the mundane mechanics of governance, welfare policies, agricultural subsidies, administrative appointments are the actual grinding battlegrounds where this new political reality is being tested every single day.
It is fascinating to watch unfold.
So why should you care about this, even if you don't live in Tamil Nadu or follow Indian politics closely?
It's a great question.
Because you are watching a real-time, high-stakes masterclass in how modern democracies around the world are fundamentally evolving.
You are seeing exactly what happens when massive digital followings, celebrity culture, and highly mobilized fan bases directly collide with traditional institutional governance.
It is the ultimate stress test of the modern political system, and the strategies being developed here will undoubtedly be exported elsewhere.
Absolutely. And if we look at the trajectory of these events, we have to ask ourselves a vital, perhaps unsettling question.
What's that?
Well, as politics becomes fully live-streamed, increasingly unfiltered, and deeply personalized, Are we entering an era where the ability to deliver a perfect, single-take, viral punch dialogue is inherently more valuable than the ability to negotiate a complex, nuanced policy?
That's a scary thought.
And if the line between the cinema camera and the assembly camera is permanently erased, what does that ultimately mean for the future of our democratic institutions?
A perfect, challenging thought to leave you with today. Think about that the next time you watch a 30-second political speech clip on your phone and wonder what is actually happening off camera.
Indeed.
We want to thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. It's been an incredible journey unpacking this massive shift, and we really appreciate you taking the time to explore the hidden mechanics with us. Until next time, keep looking beyond the headlines.